Have you ever wondered what the entire world is thinking about, like at the exact same moment? It kind of sounds like science fiction, right? But believe it or not, we create a record of our collective curiosity, our fears, and our obsessions every single day. And we do it with something most of us don't even think twice about: Google search.
So, what was it that grabbed our collective attention in 2025? Well, it turns out it was a pretty wild mix of politics, pop culture, and some seriously groundbreaking tech, all revealed by the simple act of typing a few words into a search bar.
And that right there is the big idea we're going to unpack. I want you to think of those billions and billions of searches not as separate questions, but as tiny fragments of a giant digital mirror. A mirror that reflects back at us what humanity as a whole is really focused on.
All right, so to kick things off, let's just try to get a handle on the sheer scale of what we're talking about with this digital mirror. To really understand how huge this is, just look at that number. To figure out the big global trends for something like a year in search report, researchers have to filter through more than 25 billion Google search queries. I mean, that's a number that's kind of hard to even wrap your head around, isn't it? It's like having a direct line into our global consciousness.
So, all that data, what does it actually tell us? Let's start with something we can all relate to: the people who just completely captivated us. Who were the individuals that dominated our screens and our searches in 2025?
Okay, here's the lineup. At number one, we've got Donald Trump, and his year was just packed with intense political moments. Right behind him, the cultural powerhouse Taylor Swift, followed by Drake and Elon Musk. Each of these names tells a story about what we were all paying attention to, because search interest for people almost always spikes around major news or, well, tragedies and big life events.
And get this wasn't just a 2025 thing. The data is pretty clear. He's generated more search interest over time than any other person in history. That is just an unprecedented level of sustained global focus.
And this timeline right here, it shows you exactly why. He was the most searched person literally every single month of 2025. You can see it from his inauguration in January to signing that bill to end the government shutdown in November. Every single one of these events created a massive wave of searches all over the world. But of course, it wasn't all politics, not by a long shot. Coming in at number two, Taylor Swift's search volume was just fueled by pure cultural dominance. I mean, you have a number one album combined with a global tour that shattered records everywhere. Yeah, that's going to keep you at the top of the conversation.
You know, it's really easy to look at this and think, okay, search trends are basically just a giant popularity contest, a measure of fame. But what if I told you this exact same data is being used to make critical, high-stakes decisions about our economy and our technological future?
And this is where things, for me at least, get really, really fascinating. The applications here go so far beyond just tracking pop culture. I mean, check this out. We're talking about major global institutions using this data in some incredibly smart ways. You've got the consulting firm McKinsey using it to actually measure interest in innovation. The OECD is using it to track the entire economy in near real time. And then you have these amazing projects like The Shape of Dreams that use search history to visually map our collective subconscious. Wild, right? So how do they actually pull this off? Well, take McKinsey's interest score. It's pretty clever. Instead of just looking at raw search volume, they use that data as one vector, and they combine it with things like news articles. This gives them a much richer, more quantifiable score for how much attention a new technology is really getting. Just let that sink in for a minute. The exact same underlying data that tells us how popular Taylor Swift's new album is what these firms are using to gauge interest and potential investment in these incredibly complex fields. We're talking about things like agentic AI, that's AI that can handle complex tasks on its own, and the next generation of semiconductors. It's just a powerful reminder of how versatile this data really is. And if you want to talk about serious applications, it doesn't get much more serious than this. The OECD, that's the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, uses Google Trends to help estimate weekly GDP. Now, this is a huge deal because it means policymakers don't have to wait months for economic data anymore. They can see the impact of events almost as they're happening. Okay, so let's pull back the curtain just a little bit. In this final section, we're going to look at how this all actually comes together. The process itself is actually pretty logical.
First, they have to isolate specific keywords from those billions and billions of searches. Then, they analyze the volume, how many people are searching for that term over time. And finally, they just rank them to see who and what hit the highest peaks of interest.
And when you step back and look at the big picture, what this all shows us is that our search data captures this incredible wide spectrum of human experience. It's a snapshot that has everything from the biggest political stories to the catchiest songs to the very technologies that are going to shape all of our futures. Which, of course, brings us right back to where we started, to that central idea. In the end, Google search trends really are that digital mirror. They don't have an opinion, they don't interpret, they just reflect what we as a global community are paying attention to in any given moment.
And that kind of leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. If today's searches are reflecting 2025 back at us, what will our searches tomorrow, your searches, my searches, what will they reflect about the future that we are all creating right now together?